let me ask you this for somebody that is starting out today, and we can kind of end on this. And we've got a lot of viewers tonight, compared to what we've had, when prices were low, of course. And some of them may be newer to Hex, some of them may be more pulse chain people. I don't know. But for you, as somebody who was around Hex at the beginning, and we can both kind of share like our ideas about it. But if you were somebody that's like, I've been DCAing, I've been buying Pulse, Hex. I mean, a lot of people are probably FOMOing into Hex right now because it's pumped really hard. What would you just kind of recommend even if they want to take just a small portion of their portfolio and do stakes with it, or just, punt some out or whatever? What do you think? I know you obviously are an advocate of doing a staking ladder, and I think all of us are that are aware of Hex, but what do you think would be kind of just like a simple way to do that? And what kind of, not that you're giving financial advice, but what have you done? I know at the beginning you made some mistakes with it and stuff like that, but what do you think at this point, if you were starting over, like, you just were setting up a little ladder, how would you do it?
Well, yes. In the very beginning, I had some crazy things that, you don't know what's going to happen. So I think there was a whole year and a half where I had stakes coming out every 3 or 5 days.
Yeah, I remember this.
It was ridiculous.
On ETH. I mean, maybe
on
the fees
ETH.
weren't. Yeah,
Yes,
obviously,
on
yeah.
ETH. Now the fees got crazy on some of them because you're putting 5 or 10,000 hex out, back to back to back to back to back, and a lot of them just didn't pan out. So what I ended up doing with several of them some of them were late, some of them I didn't even end. I took the money that it would have cost to end it and bought more hex instead, because the hex was cheaper at that time than it would have been to unstake it. So I did some of that, but I finally got things to where I wanted them, to where now I actually have monthly stakes. For those just starting, I would start with a yearly stake, or even a bi-yearly. You've got to do it in steps, right? You've got to get enough to make it worthwhile. But at the same time, you want to cash in on the T-shares and get as much of an advantage as you can now, because those T-shares are only going to go up. The price of the T-share may not go up, but the actual hex that it takes to get that T-share is only ever increasing. So by staking it out longer first and working your way back is a better method, because you're going to get more in the long run. If you start now by just doing, okay, I'll do 1 year, and then the next thing I'll do 3 years, and then the next one I get, you're missing out on some of those future gains. Whereas if you, at the very least, you don't have to go the 5-5-5-5, because it does cap out at 10 years, right? Those extra 5 years are essentially just a bonus. So if you start even at 10 years, you get the max amount, you get the 3x volume or time bonus out of your T-shares, and then work your way back. Start at 10 years, work your way back, do maybe 8, then 6, then 4, then 2, and then you can kind of every year put in another one to extend it, or fill in gaps or something like that. I think that's the best way to do it. There's really, everybody's got their own strategy. You can have them come out on your birthday or an anniversary or right before Christmas, and it would help, maybe plan some Christmases where, you have it come out on December 1st, where you can give yourself a somewhat of a nice Christmas bonus to help, buy gifts for the family or do whatever. Everybody's got different needs or wants or reasons to do it. So I've heard of people putting them out to, they have younger kids. They put a stake out on their kids' graduation for high school, as a graduation gift to the kids. So there's all kind of different things that you can do with these. And it's pretty crazy to see some of the different methods, but it's all different for everybody. And I think just getting started on your own and starting a ladder, because time's flown, man. We're 5 years into this, and it seems like yesterday. It really does.
Yeah.
That we were in the adoption amplifier and getting these things at rock bottom prices. and it's going to continue to fly. Time flies. So you blink and it's gone. And you may thank yourself later for just punting something out and starting a ladder now that you can always roll later, when you get to that point. So, yeah, I mean, there's really no right answer. Only that person knows. But you got to start somewhere. And I recommend people to at least do something small for themselves.
I think the last thing you said is especially true. Like it's up to the individual. I mean, like whatever is going to work for you. That's why I think, if you don't want to bet the whole farm on it, like you got guys like, well, you're not necessarily like this, but I mean, I was gonna say you or like Crispy is all about Hex. Like I don't know what he owns of the other tokens, and how much Pulse or Pulse X he's bought, but he is like all about Hex, getting more T-shares and all that. More power to him. Some people are like that. And then there's other people who again are coming to this a little bit late. And it would make sense for like, hey, if Hex is a third of your portfolio or something like that, maybe then take a half of that third and do a staking ladder or something. Or, if you are turned off by the idea of a long-term ladder and you have a decent enough bag where this will at least give you something. Now, this is more a strategy for Hex on Pulse Chain, of course. But you could, punt it out for multi-month stakes, or do what we said some of these whales are doing earlier and like punt it out a year from now, or just not the whole bag. I wouldn't do that, but like taper it out to different areas where you think the bull market could be ending.
Mhm.
You're not going to get it right. You're not going to get it perfect. I would want to err on the side of being too early, of course,
Yeah.
rather than late. But I mean, that's kind of why you can taper it out at different amounts. I mean, some people cringe at that idea and some are like, hey, this is a long-term thing. What are you doing, idiot? It's really all up to you. But I mean, if you were making a full ladder, I'm with you. I mean, I would just want to I think the best thing to do, and again, maybe I get not wanting to go 15 years. At this point, I understand somebody not wanting to go that far. But I mean, because like you said, beyond 10, it's just the bonus of the extra time locked up.
Yep.
There's not really anything else built in. But I mean, that's still 2 cycles down the road. If you wanted to do 1 through 10, and get yourself a nice amount of T shares, whatever you feel like that is for you. I think annual is really a great way to go, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, so another thing too that Hexican Lost in Asia just mentioned, and I forgot about this. Axis was one of the people who had mentioned this method some time ago, and that was buying a big bag as much as you can, and doing a 30 or 60, depending on how much you have, do a 30, 60, 90-day rolling stake. Take the yield from that and punt the yield,
Mm,
and do it again and do it again and take that yield and punt the yield. So you're essentially taking your current hex and making what you can to put out and fill in your ladder that way.
mm,
So yet again, another strategy that could be used if you have enough. Now, in, keep in mind, you know, as Pulse Chain improves and gets uh, more adopted, we're going to see the price of it probably go up too.
yeah.
It could get to the point where it gets as expensive as Ethereum is now. So we do have to remember that the cost of unstaking, the longer you go, the more expensive it is, right? So
Mhm.
you can't forget about that. But hopefully, like I said, the value of the tokens will outweigh the cost it takes to unstake. So,
Yeah.
thank you for bringing that up there, Hexican Lost in Asia. I forgot about that strategy. Like I said, there's videos out there. There's so many different strategies, but that was just another one. So wanted to remind people of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good kind of game theory behind Hex. I mean, that's why Matty Allen always called his show Game Theory Gang and stuff like that. There's a lot of different things that you can do, and yeah, the market seems to start remembering what Hex is about, and hopefully DeFi is making a little bit of a comeback in the consciousness of people, and it's one reason why Richard Hart is long crypto for life. I mean, this isn't like some of these fly by night things and like the Terra Lunas and some of the scammy yield programs that we saw over the last couple of years, despite people trying to throw that label on Richard Hart and Hex all the time. It's actually still here, still working. The price just went down like everything else. But this is one of those products of very few in crypto that looks like it's going to stand the test of time with a guy behind it that has every intention of doing that and is in it for the glory and isn't going to leave. So that's why I think it is very important to be in these products right now, be in Pulse Chain, Hex, Pulse X, all these things right now, just generally in the ecosystem, because he's built one out here to last us for cycle after cycle, I think. So yeah. Lots of reasons.
Long-term delayed gratification. That's always been one of his mantras that, he always preaches. Delayed gratification. Teach yourself to wait and you will be rewarded.
Yeah. Just stick it out. I mean, we've talked about it many times. Many people cannot stick things out. Many people with the goals that they have, regardless of what it is in life, most people do give up. Most people do quit because it is not easy. Like most things, if they're worth doing to you and they're compelling and you have like a great view or goal for your life, most people will quit because it is just too difficult to do. You've probably done it, and it's not to say that people quitting certain things isn't okay. I mean, maybe it just ended up not being for you. And you're like, you know what, my barometer's changed. Like this isn't really worth it for me anymore. But I mean, like if this is what you really want and you are all in on this, I mean, we're certainly sticking it out, not going anywhere. So, give me liberty or give me death, basically. Talking about a lot of death on the show tonight.